Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We're into a trap bar session for Strongest Man on Earth. Unfortunate, I was traveling, forgot my belt. My belt's en route, so it's going to be a beltless session today. A little update on Strongest Man on Earth event. This is about the height that it's going to be. So these huge numbers that other people are pulling, that I've pulled from here, it's not going to be the case. It's going to be somewhere around this height. So numbers are going to be lower than expected. It's not going to be the 1,1400 that we thought it could be. Nonetheless, we'll see how we go today. Beltless, doubles. I hit 900 some odd, 920 or something last week, 2 weeks ago. Beltless doubles. So if I can hit something similar this week without a belt on, things are in a really good place. In terms of peaking for the show, I'm probably in my lowest dip right now, strength-wise. Things should start to ramp up now and all the way up for the next 9.5 weeks into SMO. Body feels 90%, 95%. The left knee is still a problem on some days. Yesterday it was really annoying. Today it feels totally fine. So I think a few more weeks and it should be not noticeable whatsoever. We're recording a YouTube video as well, so bear with us a little bit on that. But feel free to pop in the chat, say hello, and yeah, thank you for popping on. Thank you for saying hello. We'll build up with something hopefully exciting. YouTube intro. One sec. Okay. I am the strongest man on earth, and in 9 weeks, I'm going to have to prove that again. One of those events is going to be a max trap bar deadlift. Today is week 1 of preparation. I'm going to try to pull over 900 pounds off the ground without a belt on, and that's just the starting point. So stick around, some huge lifts coming up. I'm going to teach you how to lift big without hurting your back. Yeah. I think somewhere around the 920 mark, I would be happy with. Just beltless on a move like this, it changes your strength a lot. So 920 without a belt, it's probably something like 1,000 with a belt. It does help tremendously. I'm trying a couple of tweaks on my technique for the trap bar. Now for deadlifts, if you tend to struggle off the floor, it's useful to bring your feet in, drive your knees forward, put a bit more pressure on your toes. Trap bar is dead weight off the ground. It's very hard to break the floor, and once you do, you're mostly okay. So today I'm going to try closer stance, knees forward, torso a bit more upright, weight into the toes, and see if those cues help my body. Now, in the first handful of weeks training for any movement that you're not super attuned to, give yourself the freedom to try a whole bunch of different things, and I'll do that for the next 3-4 weeks until I actually feel what's best for me, and then I'll stick to that for the last 6 weeks of prep or so. Feels good. How's the chat?
All right. So first one here is from Dean. So hey, Mitch, got tickets to Strongman Classic. How is training going for that and Strongest Man on Earth? How are you feeling in yourself?
Yeah, look, I don't make it a secret that Giants live shows are more training. I don't really peak and prep into them like I do for the big shows. That being said, my body is rebounding from World's Strongest Man pretty well. And my win streak at Giants Live right now is at 4, and I don't want that to stop anytime soon. So, yes, I think I will be in very good condition to retain the Strongman Classic title. It's also my favorite venue. It holds a special spot in my heart, and that's what kicked off an incredible year last year. So that's what I want to do this year again. Reset, smash Strongest Man on Earth, and have that momentum into, smash Strongman Classic, and have that momentum into Strongest Man on Earth.
So Jody's wondering, any official word on pickup height and width of the trap bar deadlift at Strongest Man on Earth?
Height, something like this. Width, not sure. And I don't anticipate to know the width until pretty much the day of the show. But you can assume that it's going to look something like it does here. They wouldn't have it super wide. Brian definitely wouldn't have it narrow because that would impact the bigger guys. So I think something like this is fair. I don't know what that would turn out to be, but I would assume something in around this range. But apparently, it's a custom bit of kit built by Rogue. So it should be pretty fun. It should be exciting. That technique is miles better than what I was doing before. That's really fucking good.
So this next one's from David. Hey, Mitch, is there any problem with deadlifting the day after squatting? I do this to try to maintain a high squat frequency.
To try to increase squat frequency?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it as a major problem, but you just have to listen to your body. There's also a question of volume and intensity. And if you can handle the volume, you can handle the intensity, and you feel like you can recover, cool, but just be mindful. Just because you can tolerate that now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to tolerate that for weeks and months into the future. So just constantly monitor, and if you can stay on top of your sleep, your life stress, and your nutrition, hydration, you might be able to get away with it for a long time. So let's talk about the first thing that's important when it comes to back pain. That's going to be your technique. Now, our body doesn't feel load, it feels forces. And your goal should be to spread the forces as evenly as possible about your low back. Now, what I mean by that is if I keep my hips really high and my shoulders are forward, the weight pulling through my shoulders and the distance from my hips to the ground is going to be the force on my low back. So you can imagine the more I sink my knees down and keep my hips on top, or beneath my shoulders, I should say. So you can see, the more I sink my hips down and keep my shoulders on top of my hips, the closer they get together, so the less force my back is going to feel. But there's a trade-off. You have to then push your knees forward, meaning that your distance from your knee to your hip increases, and there's more load on your legs and your knees. So finding that balance is really, really important, making sure your back isn't overloaded. And if you feel your back taking the brunt of the force, try and sit your hips a little bit lower and get your shoulders back on top of your hips.
On that topic, is there anything like views and everything that would be different? How this, the trap bar deadlift key to a typical deadlift would be?
Yeah. Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah, I should do the set and then
Okay.
do that.
Sure. If I forget, just remind me. I'll talk about the foot position that I was talking about on live stream. Anything else, Lish?
Yeah. So Andrew's wondering, no Reno Nell at Strongest Man on Earth. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Personally, not a fan. I think if you were taking like a Brian Shaw approach of doing only a couple shows a year, fair enough. If you want to say do Worlds in the Arnold or something like that, that's okay. And I haven't watched his full video, so I don't fully understand why he's not doing it. But the feeling that I got from reading comments and stuff was that he's not doing it because he doesn't quite feel ready. But you just won World's Strongest Man. You are ready to do high-level strongman shows. And I think we should show up at the largest shows. If it's just that you don't feel like you're going to do well, you don't feel like you're going to win, I don't like that as a reason to not do a show. I think it would be good to see where he stacks up in a different style. Now, again, I haven't watched it, so it's possible he just has something personal going on or whatever. I'm not sure, but it's very different, say, of Brian saying I'll compete twice a year at the biggest shows versus Reno, who's got Worlds, he's doing some Strongman Champions League, he's doing Giants Live. So it doesn't feel like a selective in terms of number of shows. It seems like selective in terms of style of show. And for me, I think if you're going to go on the strongman circuit, if you will, I would like to see everyone everywhere. And I live that myself as well, because that's how we get fans into the sport. That's how we grow the sport, and internationally, especially since he's from South Africa. I think it would help tremendously to give that exposure. But there's a counter argument to say that, a longer career could be better, and this could help have a longer career. So my thoughts are, I think he should be there, but those are my thoughts, and he has different thoughts, and all of you guys probably have different thoughts to that or somewhere in between, and whatever. So I support people choosing what they want to do, but if it were me, I would do the show. All right. One more question while I grab my straps.
All right, this one's from Dalton. It's a super chat. About to head into my session with Kelly, but are you familiar with the Regeneron study around myostatin inhibitors? Dr. Mike makes it sound promising.
No. And the problem with any individual study, and that one I haven't read, but the sound of it is that it's done on animals, which can be promising and can be indicative, but isn't necessarily the end all be all. Also, when we look at research, you go randomized control trial to meta-analysis and systematic review. Unless we're to the stage where we have systematic reviews, it's hard to rely on individual research trials because you're talking about a very small sample size more often than not. You're talking about one group of researchers. You've got to prove that that's a reliable result. You have to prove that that's a repeatable result. So all of those things are my red flags whenever there's like new research, but I don't know is the answer. Hopefully it's good. If I trust Mike enough, like he's a bit sensational, of course, we have to be on YouTube, but I trust Mike enough. If he's really excited about it, then it's probably promising. All right. This is 220 kilos. Beautiful. It's just feeling today like there's a lot less force on my back, which makes sense with the technique, but it just doesn't feel as stressful. We'll see as we get up and weight, but it's feeling good so far. I'll put the weight on. I'll talk about it.
Load this. That would be a great transition. Like, speaking of technique, how does it differ?
Yeah. Now, speaking of technique, whenever it's a deadlift variation that's harder off the ground, like a trap bar, we're going to want to bring our feet in, put some pressure through our toes, and sink our hips a little bit lower. Reason being, this creates a spring to explode off of the ground. You think the bottom of a squat, how you can bounce out of the hole, and the difficult part is much higher up in the movement compared to a traditional deadlift, where we tend to struggle in around here and lower. Well, if we can shift that movement strength curve, and we can make it so that our strongest point is off the floor, it then matches the challenge of something like the trap bar. So closer stance, feet pointed forward, weight in the toes is generally going to help you out. I'm really happy with how this is feeling. Really, really happy. Chat.
All right, this one's from Maddie. Hey, Mitch and the team. I hope all is well. I'm competing tomorrow for my 6th comp. Any final words of wisdom from the Moose?
Yeah, go have fun. I don't care what level you're competing at. If you can't enjoy yourself in the process, it's a complete moot point. You're going to perform better if you're in a good mood. You're going to perform better if you're happy and you're comfortable. So worry about that. Worry about adding to the community, making other people feel happy that they're competing as well. And ultimately, there are like 2 people in the world who make a living in strongman, a proper living. And outside of that, it might only last for a couple of years at best, even for those people. So this is a hobby. This is not your end all be all. This is not what your life is worth. It's not what you are worth. It's just something that you've worked hard to accomplish. You should be proud of the process that you've gone through to get to this stage, or not proud of the process if you didn't commit to whatever. And whether you win the show or lose the show, you should be proud or not proud of the work that you put in to get to the point that you're at. So you don't really choose who shows up. So focus on that, focus on having fun, and just go smash it. YouTube thing, I'll talk about, I want to talk about bracing, but I want to talk about that towards my talk set.
Okay. I was going to say, if you want to film something now, for a plug for this, I was thinking like a completely different scene, transition out of the flag to you holding the product. You could say thanks for the flag and be like, by the way, mutant product, whatever you want to point for it.
Yeah.
So it's completely different than what we're usually seeing.
Sure.
So we think we're going to be standing like right there.
Yeah.
So I'll do it like this from here. Pull out. Okay.
Yep.
All right, ready? And
As always, my session is fueled by Mutant Madness pre-workout. They sent me this gym flag. You can see in the background of some of the videos. But if you want to support people who support Strongman, go ahead, click the link below. There's some really exciting news that I can't announce yet about how they're getting involved in a bigger way in Strongman as a whole. So stay tuned for that. But know that they support the people who you're supporting, and them supporting that grows the sport and helps people like you directly. So go ahead, check the link down in the description. This video is brought to you by Mutant pre-workout. Let's take some and let's keep building. It's actually, change of technique is ridiculous how much easier it's making that feel.
oh, really?
Yeah, ridiculous, like actually ridiculous. Spicy.
I was almost able to use the full thing. That's the mutant range.
The Mutant Rain. Mutant Rain. Doesn't have the same ring to it, but
All right, question here from Caitlin. When I deadlift, the bar hardly ever touches my shins. What am I doing wrong, or is that normal?
the bar, excuse me?
The bar hardly ever touches your shins. Is that normal, or what am I doing wrong?
So you don't look like you've been through a war. Is it a problem? Yes. Reason it's a problem is any bit that bar is away from your shins is going to increase the moment time on your hips and just make you less efficient. Let's answer this for YouTube, though. Let's talk about it on YouTube, yeah. Yeah.
How do you want to put this into the conversation here? Just maybe side
I think I got it. I think I'm all right. This advice is for you, but I'm recording for the video. So when it comes to deadlift technique, one of the most important things is engaging your lats. Now, people often get this wrong. It's not about pulling the bar into you. It's about pulling your shoulder down into your hip. That lat engagement is going to help your core tremendously, which we're going to talk about in a second. But you know you're doing this well, and you know your bar path is right if you bump the bar against your shins from time to time. Now, they don't have to look like mine, but the closer you get the bar to your body, the more mechanically advantaged you're going to be. If the bar tends to swing away from you, it's going to be because your shoulders are too far forward. You are never going to be strong enough to overcome the feeling of a heavy load swinging away. Your lats are never going to pull it back into you. So your problem is that your shoulders are too far forward. Traditionally speaking, this is because your hips have risen. If you think biomechanically, my hips low, my shoulders are on top of my hands, the bar. But if I raise my hips, you see I tilt forward, meaning that as soon as I start to lift, that bar is going to drift away to be back under my arm. And now I have that space. And that space is always going to be a limiting factor and always going to lead to injury risk for the low back. Whether you want to be more efficient or lift more weight, that's going to be a major check mark to make sure you're hitting. Hopefully that made sense for you. Yeah, the thought would be sit your hips a little bit lower, and it requires some training and patience on the ground. Because that initial bit off the ground, it can be really hard when you're first trying to lift huge weights, or when you're sort of reaching past what you're capable of or new territories. It's easy to get eager and kind of kick the hips up and lose all of the leg drive. The bar swings away, and then obviously you're going to end up making lifts much more difficult than they need to be. All right. This will be 320 kilos. $320 kilos. I gotta get used to pounds. These kilos are so much easier. Sorry, because I know everyone on the stream is probably North American, but I don't know how y'all operate in pounds constantly. I don't know how it, but all right. 110, 220, 330, 445, 56, 60 plus 45. So 705.
When did you start using pounds or kilos per pound?
I started using kilos because I started in Australia. Yeah, like I used pounds in university and before I went to Australia, but I was never in strength sports. And then like 20 kilos, like you just look seven plates. So easy, I got it. 300 kilos. Ooh, dizzy. That was good though. Beautiful. Whoa.
So this one here is from Factory Stage. Just figured out bracing with a belt with the help of your free guide. Curious though, seems to have very mild headaches after deadlift and squat. Is that normal?
Yes, they will go away eventually, but when you brace properly, your heart's aorta ascends, descends, and it goes through your stomach. So you actually have an abdominal aorta, which is a really fat artery. The more pressure you put through your stomach to protect your back, the more that you're going to divert blood flow to your head. Then all that blood goes to your head. It's expanding the vessels. It's going to cause headaches. It's the same reason you get lightheaded like I'm getting today. But once you practice that for a little while and your body becomes accustomed, it's not as jarring. So it will be alleviated over time, but short term, it kind of sucks.
And then this one here is from Toby. So Strongman Classic looked like it'll be awesome. Also got my tickets for Deadlift Champs in Birmingham.
Good stuff. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure you come say hi, Toby. I'd love to meet you in person. Yeah, gearing up for Birmingham. That's now 12 weeks away. And that's sort of like the number one thing on my mind in terms of peaking. Sorry, 13 weeks away, I believe. But that's my number one thing on my mind for peaking. And that's when I want to be my strongest. And 13 weeks out of wanting to be your strongest, you shouldn't be hitting PRs. You shouldn't be hitting anything huge right now. As much as it's a difficult mental battle, I'm kind of where I need to be. So 110, 220, 330, 445, 56, 67, 70, and 45. 815 is the next one up. I think if I get one more plate on after this, I'll be quite happy. But we'll see how this guy feels. Yeah, that's fine. That one actually felt as good as the last one. Should be good to go. Now let's talk about bracing. This is not an easy thing to get right. And I've broken this down in a full guide linked in the description. But the principle is creating as much pressure in your stomach as possible. Core training to brace properly is very different to core training for abs or for aesthetic reasons. Your goal is actually to push everything out as hard as you can. There are two ways to breathe. You either breathe with your intercostal muscles, which are muscles between your ribs, and they elevate your ribs, or you breathe with your diaphragm, and your diaphragm expands down. Either way, your lungs are a passive tissue. You either just move out with your chest wall or move down with your diaphragm. If you can move it down with your diaphragm, you create this extra, this reduced. If you can breathe with your diaphragm, you create a reduced area amongst your organs. That then creates this belly all the way around. After you have that belly, you then have to push out. It's especially useful if you have a belt, which I don't have today for training purposes. But if you have a belt and you push into it, it creates this incredible stability between your pelvis and your rib cage that should make sure you translate force from the ground up through your upper body as efficiently as possible, but also that your technique doesn't change whatsoever. You continue to load directly up and down on your spine, which I'll talk about in a second, and you're able to lift as safely as possible.
All right. So we just had a super chat come in from Ibrahim. How important do you think BMI is when it comes to health? I'm about 270 pounds at 5'10". My body fat is about 18%.
18%? Mm-hmm. And he's 270 at 5 foot?
270 at 5'10".
Yeah, okay. It's important. And people who say it's not important don't know what they're talking about. But it's one of the important variables. So we have BMI, absolutely relevant to your overall health. Then we have, yeah, you're right. BMI, definitely relevant to your overall health. Then we have things like movement. We have things like body fat. We have things like waist circumference. We have things like your family history, your genetics. We have a whole host of things that do matter tremendously for your health. BMI is absolutely one of them. If you want to be a strength athlete and you want to be as strong as possible, you're going to be heavier, but that doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice body composition entirely. It doesn't mean you have to sacrifice aerobic fitness entirely. You got to make small efforts in other areas, but BMI, if it's not going to be good, it's not going to be good.
And then quick question from Ethan. Do you use certain belts for certain lifts?
I used to use a neoprene belt for like a weightlifting belt for some things and a hard belt for other things. But I either like total support or total mobility. When I want total support, I've got the soft belt that I released from Cerberus, which is very stiff and very helpful. And then I'll stack on another hard belt that I've made with Cerberus that will be available for you guys eventually. But I put those two together whenever I want maximal support. That's deadlifts, squats, moving events, overhead pressing, anything like that. When it comes to loading races and certain medleys, I'll wear no belts at all. It really just depends. But more often than not, you'll see me stacking a supportive soft belt with a big, thick hard belt to get as much support as possible.
How much weight do you have on there?
This is 925. I'll give it one more minute, and then we're into it. A 925 beltless double from this height would be, I'd be extremely happy with that. We've got 925 on the trap bar. If I could do that beltless at this height, this far out from competition, I would be extremely happy. That would be a phenomenal spot to be in. Good, bit of a technique change, just feeling really good. I don't have my belt, so it's I can't translate the force the same. But yeah. What's that? It feels better the higher it is. It doesn't feel near as good as the rogue one, but. Oh. The Venn diagram of the people who wear boat shoes and the people who love mixed nuts, it's almost a 100% overlap. Just slivers on the outside. Elderly men and little slivers.
I'm starting to go right.
Yeah. Anything interesting, or are we good? We good, or anything interesting?
This one's from Nordic Power. Hey Mitchell, just how much transfer is there from trap bar deadlift to proper deadlift?
Not as much as you would think. No, not as much as you think. You'll see guys really good at deadlifting, not so good at trap bar. I would say this is more, it's more like a partial squat than it is a deadlift. I think that would be the closer comparator than a deadlift itself, especially depending on technique, because you can deadlift a trap bar and keep your hips a bit higher, or you can drop your hips and you can squat a trap bar. So it really depends how you do it. For most people, a squat pattern is going to be stronger from this height than a deadlift pattern, but yeah, it really varies. But I would say a squat is more replicative. And if you're trying to build your deadlift, this is not a good variation. I wouldn't suggest this as a primary way to try to train it. Ooh, that's massive. That's huge. I am extremely happy with that. Beltless is not something I've done in a little while. That's as good as I could ask for from that height. We're looking at 925, no belt for a double. From this height, throw a belt on, high 900s, maybe 1,000-ish for a double. For a single, competition, energy, peaking, we'll see. We will see. Oh. I am just checking my program. I still have, you asking for YouTube? Give me a sec. Let me just pull up my program. We got Pendlay rows, lat pull downs, hammer curls, and some core training. Core training, I'm going to show you how to train your core to get this movement stronger and keep your low back safe. Stay tuned for that. Cool. One thing I think, go behind the camera. I'll just show them together. I'm not going to show sets, reps, and everything, but I think one thing people would find interesting, to win world championships, this is what my program looks like. It's just on Google Sheets, and it's just a PDF file. It's not a fancy app. There's no fancy instructions. There's no videos of laws and how to do things. It's just Here's your program, couple of notes, 4 weeks. Go off, do your thing. Call me if you need me. So don't get too cute. Don't get too pretty about things. If you like fun stuff, fine, go for your life. But it's not a mandatory in order to make progress.
Toby said classic laws program.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, which for his clients as well, it's probably useful to know. Like, what I get is what you get. I've watched him write a whole bunch of programs. It's all the same. All right. We're going to take a plate off. And I got 2 back down sets that I'll do at 8:20-ish. I'm going to rest for a few minutes. Fire away.
All right, this one's from Eric. I only feel my lower back on deadlifts and not my legs or glutes. Any tips to utilize more legs and glutes?
Yes, you have to sink your hips down lower, and you have to be a little bit more patient. So it's hard, and it's going to be a hard feeling at first, but if you can do that, it's going to help tremendously. Now, you're always going to feel your back. It's a posterior chain exercise, and that's fine. But if you put a little bit more pressure into your toes, you can get a little bit more of an explosion off of the ground. So, yeah, that would be my best recommendation for you. It takes a lot of time, though. I would say the first 3 years of deadlifting, all I felt was my back, and that's it. But don't see it as a bad thing. Improve your technique over time. Make sure your back is strong. Make sure your bracing is good, and just continue to build.
And then a question from Christy. Hope you're well, Mitch. Any yoke tips for wobbly hips once it gets heavy, wider stance, or just hip width best?
Yeah. So when your hips are wobbly during yoke, it's the inner muscles of your hips. There's a couple of reasons that it happens. Either they're weak or you're relying too heavily on them. If they're weak, you think, like, if you go up onto one leg and you put your hands on your hips, if your hip is weak, you'll see it shoot out to the side. And that's what's happening on your yoke because we're just adding load. It's like a fun little dance move. You love it. But that's what happens. So strengthening these inner hip muscles is really important. And so just think of going from here where your hips shot out to the side. Can you like lift it up? And can you do these little hikes? Right? Now that's one reason. The other reason is if your feet become narrow in the yoke, you can think you're relying a lot on your hips to stay stable. The further out your feet become, the more you're going to get the lateral stability. So it's possible that technically you just need to think about your feet being a little bit wider, and then your leg has a bit more leverage. You think when you plant on one leg, your goal is to push across to the other. And so if you can do that, having your foot out, it's like, imagine if someone's trying to push me that way on one leg under my foot versus like if I'm out here, and even if I put no effort through the other leg, if they tried to push and my foot is outside my hip, my center of mass is going to be forced this way. That provides leverage to my hip to be able to push back. So those are 2 ways to attack that.
And then we have a super chat here from Jeremiah. Hey, Mitch, what suit are you using to pull 505?
I'll be using the Max Sensor deadlift suit, the same one I've always used. Honestly, I think I could go tighter. I think I could get one that's maybe a little bit stronger for my 1 rep max. But I would rather have exactly what I'm comfortable with and exactly what I know rather than try something new last minute, just force a square peg into a round hole. I've used this suit for years. I've got comfortable in it for years. I wouldn't want to start a prep 16 weeks out with something brand new. I think that's probably the biggest mistake that a lot of people have made before. They get close to as strong and then they totally blow up what they were doing. They change their approach, they change their food, they change their suit, they change their, and I just don't think that's the right approach. I think if you're close, there's no need to change anything. Just be patient, keep chipping away. This will be 3 years removed from when I thought I could do it the first time. So I'm being patient. I just think this is the year that it could happen.
And then this one here, any tips for breathing when the log gets up to the upper chest? Seems to lose all my strength. there as my breast scuppers.
Yeah. You almost want to roll your shoulders forward. You okay? Yeah, dude, of course. Yeah, you're fine. If the log's up on your chest, if you roll your shoulders forward, you can create a bit of space to be able to breathe up in here. Okay, if you're really flat and open, you think all that weight's on your chest. So think about rolling forward, get that breath, then you can open up, and then you can go into your press.
And then one from Mark Taylor. When will you be going for the world record deadlift?
That is September 6th. John Saab World Deadlift Champs in Birmingham, England. Very, very excited for that. I hate back offsets so much. Yeah, I have a back offset right now. I've got 2 of them. Technically, I'm supposed to just do 3 sets of the same weight at a relatively lower effort. It's not the right thing to do, but I like to push a little bit hard, then back off afterwards, just so I can continuously work hard. Sometimes, even at the top level, I love lifting heavy weight. That's what I like to do. I don't like following a program. I don't like doing things particular. I want to come in, how heavy can I lift? That's it. And so it's a difficult balance between what you want to do, what's good for your head, and what's good for your body, what's good for competition. So I try to marry the two as best I can. Thankfully, I do rely on my education and my knowledge to go, this is an okay feeling, this is not an okay feeling. But all being truthful, I work too hard in the gym based on what I should be doing. And maybe that'll change one day, but I just like the feeling of resisting heavy load and overcoming heavy load. That's why I got into this in the first place, not so that I could do an RP7 anything. No, I just don't want to. I just have this thing in my head that's like, it's not right. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like a neural thing where it's just like, you just did something hard, that's enough. And it seems to hit me particularly hard on top bar, which is a good lesson. A couple of lessons. One lesson, in comp, I have to do less jumps than I would probably want to do, jump a little bit more at once. And number 2, if I go to do that and it's 110 pounds off of what I just did and it's not moving at all, could I grind out a couple of reps? Yes. Is it the smart thing to do? Absolutely not. So that's going to be it there for today. I'm on to a lot of other posterior chain exercise. I'll increase the volume of other posterior chain exercise to make up for missing out on the 2 sets here. But that is my sign. That's enough trap bar deadlifts for today. We're going to move on to Pendlay rows. And let's talk about how they will help build your deadlift. That's a genuine thing, guys. It's not a YouTube thing. It's sometimes you just have that, like, I don't know, it just shuts off. You just had enough. One really important thing is that your body has these mechanisms to protect yourself. And if you try to be hardcore or you try to get too revved up, you're going to lose that protective mechanism. You say if you tear 1% of a muscle, you're going to be in too much pain to continue. Not because that muscle can't do the work, but because if you continue to try to do very heavy lifts, you're going to tear that muscle more. So it's your body's shut off. So right now, I don't know why I can't do that, but to me, that's sign enough that, like, you've had enough. Your body could be close to breaking. You could be neurally fatigued. There's no sense to push into it. So I don't consider it a loss at all. I'm really happy about that top set. And in the end, the top set is what matters. How heavy you can lift matters, not how heavy you can lift how many times. But that'll be one of the markers of my training progress that I'll make over the next 10 weeks, 9 weeks into Strongest Man on Earth is, can I start to tolerate more and more and more heavy loads? Which right now it seems like my top strength is actually okay, but my tolerance to repeated volume is poor, which is kind of what we would expect right now. It's overextending what you're used to. So that's that. I'm going to put a few plates on, do some Pendlay rows, and you guys keep asking away.
So this question here is from Dusty.
Yep.
Any tips for breaking through my 1 rep max effort deadlift? My sticking point is at my knee.
What about his knee?
The sticking point is at the knee.
Oh, yeah, look, that's kind of the most common sticking point if you're doing the lift well. Tips there, honestly, get stronger and be patient. It's funny with strength sport, you'll find you go through this period of time where your deadlift increases a lot, and then you go a year and a half where it doesn't move at all. Then all of a sudden it'll start going again. And you just sort of have to be patient with these things. I don't know why the body operates that way, but it just does. And it could come down to a lot of different programming variables, from a bit of burnout, like you've been trying at your deadlift for so long. It could come to you're not recovering effectively. It could come to you're not training it enough. Hard to really know unless I see a full program. Shameless plug, I sell deadlift peaking programs on Moose Coaching. So that would be my best recommendation. If you take a week off, chill out, hop onto a proper deadlift program, that's kind of the best advice I can give to ensure that your program is well taken care of. In that, I also give tips and tricks on each portion of the deadlift. So you should be able to work through any sticking point that arises. But at the knee, that's really common. If you get stronger, it should increase. Yeah.
Dumb question. You wouldn't do Pendlay rows for chopper, right? There'd be no benefit to it. It'd be kind of weird. Like,
No, I mean, you could do.
I'd be like really wide grip, though. Right?
I think you'd be okay. No, I think that would work well. But I don't want to go weeks at a time without properly training bar position in front of me. Would want to do it?
Would there be any accessory that would benefit? Not really.
Maybe like a log, if you're working on your log clean, like the row that way. One thing I've learned over time is you can kind of manufacture a reason to do any exercise. And so that thing where I'm like in the past, I would have gone, oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? The more I learn, the more there's actually a reason to do mostly anything in the gym. So even like something, like what is something stupid? Okay, objectively stupid to like hold a cable out here and like push across. But like, what if you're a baseball player? And you're like across, you're like, okay, right, makes sense now. But it looks dumb, but you know, if we're judging what looks dumb and you wouldn't do those things, then no one would do strongman.
Hold the cables and pull them upside down, try to like roll themselves this way.
Oh, really?
There is no practical use for that.
I don't know. Oh. Another good sign, live stream people. Another really good takeaway today is that I got over 900, low mid 900 off the ground in a deadlift-like position without having any sort of lower back pain. And that's something that plagues me from time to time. So definitely core training helps, but it's one of those things. Eventually, you do enough and you're going to break. There's an analogy there. I don't know what it is. I'm not old enough for that yet. So I'm going to do these different today to how I normally do them. Normally, I'll do a deadlift into a row. Today, I'm going to stay bent over. And this is going to be to keep the weight down again. I just had that weird weight will not move off the ground on the trap bar. So I don't want to then go, weight won't move off the ground on the trap bar. So I'm going to hit an all-time PB on the next exercise. Just going to increase volume, keep intensity high, but keep intensity high while keeping extra load off of the back. And these are kind of the moment-to-moment decisions of lifting that honestly can make a huge difference of your body stays in one piece or doesn't over time. And probably something that I haven't spoken enough about in the past when I'll say my education helps me. Well, this is one of the ways. That's very simple, very small, but you compound the decisions over time and it can be dramatically different. Cool. That's probably about a 7 out of 10. I'm gonna do 5 sets of that. I got a rain. I'm okay. Thank you. So, program is 3x8. I'm going to do 5x8, just like that. Starts at a 7 effort. Gonna probably build to a 8.5, 9 by the last set. Not gonna give myself complete recoveries. Probably in the range of 3-4 minutes. Just enough to get my breath back.
And here from James, how much does the bar matter? I work out at the local Y and the bar seems very stiff. 350 for sets of 10 all day, but 405 1 rep max is hit or miss.
How much does the bar matter? Not as much as you think, especially because it seems way more related to how strong you are rather than the bar itself. So say elephant bar, I've heard people say huge whip starts at 800 pounds, get ready, or 900 pounds. And the reality is the whip just starts when it starts to get really hard for you. Same thing, a stiff bar will be 5% off what your deadlift bar will be. For example, I don't know the actual numbers, but say earlier in the week, I did 350 for 6 on a stiff bar. That's 85% of 1 rep max. So theoretically, on that stiff bar, I'd be able to do what? 45, 52. I'd be able to do like 405 for a single on a stiff bar. And that's probably about right. On a deadlift bar, I could probably do about 430 raw right now. That's really all that matters. Same thing with an axle. It'll be a little bit harder than a normal stiff bar. Don't worry about the bar. You will build your deadlift irrespective of what bar you're using. And then that's why you'll see day of the show, some guys who have incredible social media lifts don't turn up and vice versa. It's just, it really just depends on your equipment and the setup.
And then super chat here from Stone Bones. Any pros to using axle for overhead press, general strength?
I would say generally no. On a barbell, you have a little bit more freedom in how you can place your hand. So up here, you can have your hands a little bit turned, not fully neutral, of course, but instead of, I don't know how well you can see it, but instead of holding the bar like this, you can open up slightly, have it in your fingers a bit, so it's not so hard on the wrist. Whereas the axle, your wrist has to be fully pronated. And so it can cause some pinching in the bicep. It can cause discomfort for larger people. And it's not like you're getting any whip from a barbell on an overhead press. So the axle just becomes a bit restrictive. You also can't squeeze the bar. And when you can't squeeze the bar, it becomes harder to press. Little tip for you guys. If you're trying to do any pressing, the harder you squeeze the bars, the harder you squeeze your hands, the better off you're going to be. So I would say, generally speaking, no. But there's also no harm to it if you don't feel any pain. So it'll be marginally harder because you can't squeeze it because it's a bit wider because you have to be strictly pronated, but not that much different. Not that much different. How's that English? Set 2. Easy work.
We have a super chat here from Ibrahim. He's wondering if you could bench him. Somebody else asked if you could bench Laws.
If I could bench Laws?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he weighs, what, 250? And I can bench like 550. So, yes, I could for many reps. And if you want to see that, join my subscribers, my members section, where there's plenty of members-only content. Oh. Number one stretch to help out your low back, internal rotation in your hip. If you can free this up, the alleviation of pressure on your low back is phenomenal, particularly if you lie down when you're doing it. It feels so good.
All right, and then for the trap bar, Grim is wondering, is it going to be a pretty conventional trap bar at Strongest Man on Earth, not hooked up to any bunch of barrels or a car or whatever else?
It will be strange.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell. I don't know. We haven't seen it, but it will be strange. With Strongest Man on Earth in particular, nobody knows anything until everyone knows everything. So you guys will find out what the trap bar looks like probably at the exact same moment that we do. Do you want me to repeat that? For Strongest Man on Earth, the trap bar that we're lifting is unknown. And we're probably going to find out when everyone else does. It's being built. It's a custom bit of equipment. If we think of the things that Rogue has built in the past, from the Rogue coaster to the Wheel of Pain, and what Brian's done in the past with the car leg press and with the barrel chest press, I imagine those people coming together will create something very strange.
And then a question here from Nordic Power. Hey, Mitchell, I just hit a PR of 260 kilograms today, and I'm trying to kick it up to the low 300s in a span of 6 to 9 months. What mandatory accessories and principles must I follow to get it?
So general. So I'm just going to give some that I really like. Without seeing you and knowing your program and knowing your strengths, I'm not sure. Things that I really like snatch grip deadlifts, and I really like pause deadlifts. For me, those are it. The one thing I will advise you to stay away from is partial deadlifts and rack pulls. You adopt a different position. It's not as specific to the deadlift as you might think. So go with your pause deadlift, go with snatch grip. And as a third, if you can squat more and your legs can be stronger, that is always going to translate over. So personally for me, for 505, to be able to lift that, I want to be able to squat high bar 400 kilos in sleeves. And to me, that'll give me the mental confidence to be able to deadlift 505. All right, set 3. Whew. This is staying at about an RPE 7. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Even though with my main accessory movements, I can overstretch myself a bit and make that error. When it comes to secondary movements, I take no pride in how much I can pendlay row. So I'm happy to keep that where it's supposed to be.
So we have one.
Just a general posterior chain accessory. Helps more with normal deadlifts than trap bar deadlifts. But I got pendlay rows and lat pull downs, more general back and lat strength than anything.
So why would you choose this? I'm guessing for the posterior chain activation, like why would you choose pendlay rows over like cable rows or some other kind of rowing variation?
Do you want it for YouTube?
That's what I was going to ask. If we get someone out like frame that way.
So I'm choosing to do pendlay rows on a normal bar rather than a trap bar, or rather than a cable row of some sorts or a chest supported row, because this is replicating the position of a deadlift. I need to strengthen my hamstrings, my glutes, my spinal erectors, my core, and get everything prepared for breaking the deadlift world record in 12 weeks time. In doing this and adopting that position, it's going to keep me familiar with what it's like to engage my lats when I need to pull a bar off the ground, and staying in touch in ways that aren't maxing out, aren't causing my body a lot of stress, but will translate to the deadlift. That is absolutely key in order to blow things up. So for yourselves, if you can, find these different positions that will load exactly what you want them to, but keeps the weight down relatively, focusing on a particular area of the body, that's going to be massive. For me, my keys right now are pendlay rows and loaded back extensions. That way, load stays light, muscles are still working hard, and we can translate that over into big, heavy pulls in a handful of weeks' time.
So we have one here from Vocad. Mitchell, how do you train? Do you train with a top set back off approach, or do you do 1 to 2 warm up sets before doing 1 to 3 top sets?
Yeah, I'm supposed to do 1 to 2. Well, I'm supposed to do a handful of warm up sets before getting to a top set. Multiple top sets. I tend to do 1 top set and back off sets, but it depends on the movement really. So trap bar, for whatever reason, I tend to burn out really quickly, and I should build that over time. But it doesn't make sense for me right now to do multiple top sets, because say top set today was 925 for a double. Well, then I went down to 815, and I couldn't get it off the ground. So if I did 3 doubles, I might only be able to do that at the mid 700 mark, high 700 mark, but I could actually do a double 170 pounds heavier. So I would rather do that for this movement. For something like squats, I can back up and do multiple sets, so I will do that. But often the weight's either slightly shifting up or slightly shifting down amongst those working sets. Heartburn. All right, set 4. One of the things to notice, on all my programs I put rest times, but that is, or all my new programs I should say, that is more of a recommendation than a prescription. You'll see, I don't measure my rest times. I go kind of when I feel like I'm ready to go. And when it comes to being strong, more rest time is fine. When it comes to being muscular and aesthetic, more rest time is fine. You'll be able to lift more weight. Either way, if you're working close to maximum in terms of aesthetics, you're fine. When it comes to fitness and muscular endurance, you need to keep rest times low. So it really depends on your goals. But for strength, if I take 4 minutes or 24 minutes, it's not going to make a whole lot of a difference. So don't feel bad about going and having a conversation, chatting to people, hanging out, having a drink, having a snack. Embrace the strongman lifestyle. Whew. 4 sits down, 1 to go. Just to get more meat on the bone for the YouTube video, yeah. Covered back pain, covered trap bar, covered some normal deadlifts. Yeah. I got lat pull down, hammer curls, core work.
Do you care about the grip for the lat pull down? Like wide grip versus like those grips you can get inner?
Yeah.
Does it make a difference?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we can maybe save talking from here. The next talking
Do it there. And then talk about core training, which I referenced earlier. Yeah.
say core training specifically for
Deadlift.
right?
Yeah.
So, question here from Josh: have you seen anyone else's trap bar training videos? How are you feeling about the event results?
Yeah, look, I've seen a few videos, and everyone seems to be doing 1,000 for a double right now. That seems to be like just what everyone's posting. And to be honest, starting squat doesn't mean a whole lot. We're so far out from the show. Also, the height matters tremendously. So right now, everyone you're seeing pull 1,000 is doing it just below the knee. They're not doing it from competition height. So they'll either have to rectify that for competition day or they'll pay for it. And unfortunately, you're going to see people pay for it. It's a new event, so it's hard to really know. But my deadlift is one of the best in the world. My squat is one of the best in the world. So I don't see how it's not a great event for me. Definitely a handful of weeks of training are going to help. But right now, if I put a belt on, I could do 1,000 for a double at competition height. And that is way better than I was even 2 weeks ago. So I still think, you know, between 11 and 1,200 pounds is probably going to be a really, really good result. And it's not going to be the crazy numbers that we thought before, especially being lower. The lower it is, the less the short guys are going to have an advantage. So I thought if it was up here on me, Lucas Hatton would be really, really good because for him, it would kind of be at the knee joints and that makes a major difference. But where it's going to be, for me, it might be here and for him, it might be here. It's not making that much of a difference. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it all shakes out. But in terms of, you know, winning and run away with the event, I don't think I will. But in terms of just coming out with really good, solid points, I have faith that I'll be there on the show day. Say top 3, like everything else, and I'll be happy. But I think Trey is going to be unreal. I think it's going to be interesting because Trey has set this incredibly slow strength curve where he'll pull for like 5 seconds before anything happens. So I think it'll be interesting to watch Trey pull 800, grinder, pull 900, grinder, pull 1,000, grinder, 1,100, 1,200, and you're like, dude, when are you going to stop? It's just like one of those videos where it's the hydraulic press, and the hydraulic press is like pressing a lead ball or something. You're like, right, okay, it's done. Nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, and then like it just explodes the thing. You're like, that is Trey lifting. I don't understand. It's like he's got this hydraulic system within himself. But then conversely, on overhead pressing, he's super explosive. So I don't understand, but good on him. All right, last set. And then we're gonna end the live stream because I'm off in other areas of the gym. All right. Yeah. Awesome. One little thing. YouTube. One thing you'll notice when I'm doing rows like this, I don't put clips on, and that's intentional. You'll see this right side is sliding off a bit, meaning that my right side wasn't keeping up to my left. But you don't put clips on. 1, you'll see it, and 2, as you're going, they're sliding off. So your right side now has to work disproportionately hard. It's almost a self-solving mechanism by doing this. Only do it in safe movements. Don't do it on squats or overhead pressing, but on something like this, do it, teach yourself a lesson, and get stronger where you need to get strong. Okay, a couple minutes left on live stream. What do we got?
Two left. So this first one is a super chat from Ibrahim. Pacers or Oklahoma City?
Oh my God, how on earth are the Pacers in this still? You look at the roster and you're like, you guys are ordinary at best. All regular season, ordinary at best. Somehow, magically, they are really, really good. Before last night, OKC for sure. But now like, the Pacers look so much better. The one thing I'll say is it looks like the Pacers feed so heavily off of their crowd. I would put money on Oklahoma City. But for the first time in the NBA Finals, I think I'm excited enough to actually watch the whole game. So that'll be fun. Also, rest in peace to the Oilers. Fuck. Come on. It's brutal.
And then this one's from Peyton. If Kurt, you could compete at any past strongman contest, which would you want to do?
I think I'm well established probably as the best strongman athlete of all time. In terms of what you think of the more athletic guys and the top guys ever, I think it's safe to say Sojourner, Brian, Thor, Marius. And Marius is very athletic as well, but not near as strong. And so I would say if I was making a hierarchy of like the most agile, very strong competitors, I would be at the top of that list. So I'd want to go to a really heavy show, and I'd want to go to Fortissimus, put myself in one show that might not be the most naturally suited to me, and try and go out there and win that. The same as I did at Strongest Man on Earth last year, where very heavy show, really something that I've had to train my peak strength to be able to be at the top with the guys. So I would say Fortissimus. And with that, Quinn. I think she wants on that.
No, we're talking about this one.
Thank you guys very much for watching the live stream. As always, lift heavy, be kind. Video by Mutants. Go ahead. They're supporting Strongman. You're going to find out a lot more about that. So go ahead. Check them out. Mutant supplements. We can't really put a link up right now. We'll try and put it up on the live after. But thank you guys very much for watching. As per always, lift heavy, be kind. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we'll see you on Tuesday.